يعملوا لعلهم يرجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على. Last night we had a muqaddama discussion on the arrival of the month of Muharram, and as I promised to all of you last night, we would begin our content of our actual topic tonight. The topic that has been seen on the flyers that have been roaming around the various groups is the Islamic perspective on minimalism. And the base verse that I had the sharaf of reciting in the khutbah for all of you from Surah Fussilat, verse number 41, is the base of our discussion. Surah Rum 41, is the base of our discussion. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ظَهَرُ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. Corruption now has appeared where? In the land and in the sea. بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِ النَّاسِ. At the hands of the insan. What Allah does is what He says, لَيُذِيقَهُمْ بَعْضَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا. He makes those individuals who are responsible for this corruption, He makes them taste a little bit of what their a'mal are doing. Not to punish them, not to torture them, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. So they could see what they're doing and return back onto Him. Now naturally in this beginning discussion on this topic, we have to define certain terms. What does the word minimalism mean even? And to understand what minimalism means, let me describe to you what I see as the problem today. We live in an era of consumerism, where everything now is sold to all of you. We live in an era of consumption, where now we're spending a lot and consuming a lot. And in this era of consumerism, everything and everybody is a brand. We've become our own brands. This era of reality TV, this era of social media, this era of the glamorization of our life, where such that everything that we do, everywhere that we go, everything that we eat even, is glamorized and made public for the public to see. And in essence, we have become our own brand, which we market. And we wait for people now to either approve, disapprove, comment, like, dislike on our life. Everything from the dinner that I made, the trip that I took, the shoes that I bought. And in the process, what's happening now is that in this era of consumerism, before I begin, let's do this now as opposed to later. If you can please move forward a little bit with one loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. There's people at the door waiting. Please come nice and tight, inshallah. This is day 2 now. You're used to me. Come, it's okay. I'm not going to bite, inshallah. Come. Shoulder to shoulder, knee to knee, heart to heart, inshallah. Beautiful. Asad. Those who are coming in, come right to the front, please. Once you're in, you're in. There's no leaving the hall afterwards, inshallah. You're stuck with me. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, I don't know how it is here in Dar es Salaam, but I know where I come from in the West, consumerism, materialism is a huge phenomenon. And in this era of consumerism, the consumer, meaning you and I, we are number one. As they say in the West, the customer is always right. So now it's to the point now, if I go on Amazon and I search for a certain product and I don't even buy the product, the next day when I log into my different platforms, they'll see pop-up ads of that product and related products up on my screen. I arrived in Tanzania, I log into my computer and I see billboards and I see ads for Tanzania everywhere I go. Now some might say it's convenient, Syed. Yeah, it's also scary at the same time. And now you're able to do what? You're able to customize anything that you want because you are the consumer. Everything is for you. You go to a restaurant, you open the menu, you have a certain dish you want to eat, you tell the waiter, look, instead of rice, can you give me bread? Instead of beef, can you give me chicken? Remove the onions, add tomatoes, not mild sauce, I want hot sauce, no dressing, but on the side. You'll say, look, as long as your credit card clears, you get whatever you want. You are the customer, you are the consumer. You want this Amazon product tomorrow morning? No problem. Just click on that appropriate shipping method and you'll have it tomorrow morning, ding dong, at your door. Now at the West, they have something called this Amazon key. You don't even have to be home anymore. They can somehow get inside your home, drop the package off inside, close the door and be on your way. It's so easy now. And because it's so easy, we increase our consumption. We increase our possessions. We can sit at home in the comfort of our home and click on a few links and voila, and within 2 or 3 days, everything is at our doorstep. In the process now, what ends up happening is that the consumer becomes this godly-like figure. Where Apple and Google and Amazon and these huge companies now are made to ensure that the consumer is happy. If you don't like the product, it comes to you broken, not working, oh, there's a bad review online, a few hashtags later, and the company now is in big trouble. Because things go viral very, very quickly nowadays. So they are there to please you and make sure that you are comfortable and that you are satisfied. So surveys pop up everywhere and anywhere. I kid you not, true story. There's a man who was in line at a major grocery store in Toronto with half a watermelon. And he was at the return and exchange desk. And he places half the watermelon on the desk and says, I bought this watermelon from you a few weeks ago. Half of it was sweet, and the other half was not. I ate the sweet part, I'm giving you back the sour part. And he was given half his money back and told that, sir, next time we sell you a watermelon, we'll make sure that from top to bottom, it's sweet. This is the halat of consumerism today. Where you bring home a plant and because of your negligence, it dies within a week, you give that plant back. That, look, this plant died too early. I want my money back. Here you go, sir. Next time we'll make sure we give you a stronger plant. This is the state. We have this godly-like figure around us. Now in the process, what ends up happening is that we surround ourselves with things that we don't need. Because of simple convenience. Now, one thing I have to mention to all of you, this is the first time you've experienced my ashra, and first time I'm talking to all of you. It's only day 2. You'll get to know me, I'll get to know you, no problem. But before that, understand that my approach to one ashra in Muharram is such that I take one topic and I exhaust it across 10 nights. Okay? Other speakers may have different topics every single night. Not me. I have this one topic, I'll exhaust. And the example I often give of my ashras is a flight. Okay? A flight. An airplane does not start off in the air, correct? It backs off from its gate, it begins to taxi, it begins to take off, gain its elevation, cruise a little bit, and then begin its descent to its destination. Correct? It's exactly how my ashras are. Initially, these first few discussions, we are taxiing down the runway. So a lot of what I say now will be supported with future discussions. So be patient with me. You'll have a lot of questions from me after this discussion. A lot of challenges, which I love. I welcome feedback. And I ask you, give me feedback. I'm not going to be whisked away after the majlis. I won't be taken to some car or some office for tea. I'll be right here or downstairs. You can't miss me. I'm 6'4". I'm wearing black. You can't miss me. Find me. Okay? Find me. Don't talk to your WhatsApp groups. Talk to me instead. That what did you mean by this, Syed? It shows me, number one, you're awake, mashallah. And number two, that you're actually vested inside of this topic. But give me some time. Let the plane get in the air to find out where I'm going with this. Okay, we've come with some preparation. We have a certain plan in mind. Okay, we're not just up here kind of winging it. Inshallah, everything goes well. Right? So stay with me. There are things tonight as a muqaddamah, as a base building discussion that we have to have. One of them is that we live in an era of consumerism. Now, the problem is that in consumerism, possessions increase. Okay? We end up having things that sometimes we don't need. To the point where we go to the store and we buy something that we think we don't have, we go home and we have 3 of them already. We just forgot. Unopened in the basement, in the garage, in my room. Oh, we had this all along. It was on sale, it was convenient. And we end up living a life where now we end up trying to feed this wild beast inside of us. Imam Ali refers to the nafs as a wild beast that needs to be tamed. The problem is the more you feed the beast, the hungrier it gets. To the point where it becomes out of control and then it begins to consume us. And now we spend our entire life trying to somehow now keep this beast inside of us fed. We can't do it. And everything that we live for now is based on possession. And we lose our focus and our directive and our purpose. Now, if you understood that, which I know you did, it'll make understanding what minimalism is a little bit easier. What is minimalism? Or this idea of zindagi sadigi, as they say in Farsi, this simple life. It's the idea of taking your life and going all the way back to its core elements. Minimalism is clarity. Minimalism is focus-driven life. Minimalism is finding that purpose. Minimalism is intentionality. The idea that you live your life with a certain focus, or you have identified what's valuable for you, and you live your life according to those values. And you surround your life of those values with the things that you need. And you remove those things that pull you away from those values. Now, right away, you'll ask me, does that mean that, Milana, this guy's coming from Toronto now, day number 2, telling us that what? I shouldn't have a nice house? I shouldn't have a nice car, a nice watch, a nice phone? No, of course not. That's not what I'm saying. I told you, be patient with me. We're just now backing up from the gate. But when the focus becomes possessions, there's a problem. Because you end up now replacing the actual maqsad and hadaf and purpose with something else that's not attainable. And that leads to depression, anxiety, stress, and one of the biggest issues we're facing amongst our youth today are these mental health issues. There are a lot of today's parents don't know how to handle. We have 18-year-olds taking antidepressant medication. 16-year-olds who are riddled with insomnia. Can you imagine? You shouldn't be having problems sleeping at 16 years old. Now, someone like me or someone a little bit older might say, oh, this is a very highly sensitive generation, Maulana. They're very hassas. Everything they take to heart. What stress do they have? They have no mortgage, no spouse, no children, no bills to pay. All they're asked to do is wake up, go study, come back. It's not that simple. When you live a life where you're asked to keep up with a certain lifestyle, that's stressful. Especially if you can't afford that lifestyle. When you can't maintain that lifestyle. And so this idea of minimalism, sadigi, simplicity in life is not just the idea of owning less possessions or consuming less. It's the idea that when you declutter outside of you, you begin to focus inside of you. When you begin to remove the possessions that you don't need outside of you, you then begin to focus on what's inside of you. Look, I'll give you a very simple Quranic example. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. The story of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Shaitan. A very famous story, all of you know. Shaitan has made several blunders in his existence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is asking him that, look, I create this insan, you prostrate, you do sajda. Okay? He doesn't do sajda in front of Adam. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking him in Surah Hijr, but why did you not bow down to Adam like I asked you to do? He says, Ana khayrun minhu, I'm better than he is. Khalaqtani min nar wa khalaqtahu min tin. You created me from fire, you created him from dirt. Fire is afdal, is better than dirt. First mistake that Shaitan made, he reduced the insan to dirt. Follow me very carefully. Because the Quran talks about the fact that what made the insan qabil sajda, what made the insan worthy of prostration, had nothing to do with dirt. Quran says, فَإِذَا سَوَيْتُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. Very carefully. When I created the form of the insan, when I gave him surat or surah form, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, and I blew in him from my spirit, then فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ, then fall down into sajda. Meaning what? The moment the spirit of Allah entered that insan became worthy of sajda. Not before that. Not at the form level. Not at the body and the jism level. And what Shaitan has done, he's reduced you and I to nothing but dirt and body and jism and form. And there is a whole dimension inside of us that's way beyond form, as you know. This body is nothing but a tool used by the command central, by the soul, to get where we want to get to. The form will be buried inside the ground, will become powder. The actual existence will move on. The question is, if we understand that, then why do people like me listen to the waswasa of shaitan and ignore the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Look, the example I'll give you is very simple, right? I've been here for 2 days. I approach you, first time I'm meeting you, salam, dua, how are you, ahwal, kya hal, everything okay? Alhamdulillah, majamache, mashallah. And within 2 seconds of meeting you, I start to give you advice. I don't even know your last name. I tell you how to raise your kids. I tell you where you should work. I tell you how long your beard should be. I tell you where to put your kids in what school. I tell you that if you have 3 kids, you should have 6 kids. Malana, my wife only wants 3 kids. Marry a second wife and have 3 more. I give you advice upon advice. After a while, he goes, look, Malana, with all due respect, I don't even know your last name. You're giving me advice. You have no idea who I am. You've just met me. Along comes your friend of 20 years, right? Your childhood friend. If he gives you advice, that's separate. I give you advice, that's separate. I don't know you. He knows you. And yet when shaitan advises us, we listen to him and we ignore Allah. Why? Shaitan doesn't know us. Allah knows us. Shaitan's reduced us to nothing but dirt and teen. He actually compares us at the form level. And the reason why we listen to him before Allah sometimes is because we see ourselves as nothing but dirt and body. Everything is jismi inside of us. Nothing is ruhi inside of us. And because everything is jismi, everything is limited to this world. So now possessions are made to feed the jism. What we own is made to feed the jism. But in reality, our haqiqat, our reality is our soul that requires us to declutter ourselves. And minimalism is that lifestyle. It's a conscious decision to live a certain way of life. Allah up and down the Quran invites us towards life. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wa lirasuli idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. O you who believe, say labbaik to Allah and the Rasul when they invite you idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. When they invite you to those elements that will bring you life, hayat. And so we become individuals who are possession-based creations. Our value is based on how big our homes are. Our happiness is based on the model of the car that I drive. My purpose becomes increasing my income status. And why does that happen in this world of consumption and consumerism? Because we've lost our purpose. We've lost our focus. And sometimes it's important that we just kind of revive the idea that what am I doing in this world? It's a huge discussion, an entire ashra. I don't have that kind of time. But in this initial base building discussion of my topic, it's important for us to remind ourselves, especially me, that my purpose is not to consume or not to possess. My purpose has always been God and God alone. In everything that I do, my destination is God. Look, a very simple example. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. Yes, I'm being summoned from the back to please, if you can please move up a little bit with a loud salawat. I still see red carpet, inshallah. I should not see red carpet anywhere. Please, nice and tight, nice loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. The essence of piety and taqwa is to live a God-centric life, a God-conscious life. The kamal or the perfection of you and I is not only to find God on the musalla, or find God in the first 10 nights of Muharram, or find God in the amal of Shab Qadr. You're bound to find God there. The kamal is to find God in our everyday acts, to find God at our workplace, to find God inside our math homework, to find God inside 1 hour of me coloring with my child, to find God with me watching, let's say, a Manchester United match. That's the kamal. If we cannot find God in the things that we do, then we shouldn't do them. Because God is that destination. Now you're leaving your house to go somewhere. First time you're going there, the person who's waiting for you to come to the house gives you their address. You open up your GPS and the first thing they ask you is what? Where do you want to go? Correct? You put in the address. That becomes the destination. That destination doesn't move. What then is offered to you are various routes to that destination. Correct? Those routes are up to you. If you want to take a certain highway or a certain part of the city or avoid traffic or go around this way, doesn't matter. That destination may not move, but the different routes at destination is bound to move. Our GPS destination is God, nobody else. And we have to find the various routes to God. And sometimes when we replace God with a different destination, chaos ensues. And we end up placing a destination inside of our GPS that we will never reach to. So there are people who possess everything this dunya has to offer. There are people who have made that income bracket. There are people who have the house that they want to, drive the car that they want to, travel the world without any sort of problems, and yet they're miserable. They work 15, 16 hours to run their business. Their spouse complains, their kid complains, God complains, no one ever sees him. He's working so hard to maintain this lifestyle, and yet he's drowning in debt. Running around trying to do this and that, multitasking, but never quite getting anything done. Constantly on our phones. We're always online, always available. The moment somebody WhatsApp me, oh, right away I reply. I have 400 followers on Facebook. I have 200 followers on Twitter. I have this on my IG, that on my Snapchat, but I don't have one life-changing relationship that I can depend on. It's all possessions, right? It's all quantity. And minimalism is the idea of going back to a focused, driven life. Look, you open your closet one day, and your closet is so full that things are now falling out as you open your closet. Correct? Clothes and luggage and boxes and God knows what else. So you decide one day, on a Saturday or Sunday morning, you spend hours now decluttering your closet. You take everything out, you make two piles, clothes that you want to donate and clothes that you want to throw away. Because half those clothes in your closet don't fit you anyways. There's stuff in there that's been there for months and years, you throw them out. And after hours and hours and hours of doing that, your closet, alhamdulillah, is spotless. You open that closet and you have this sense of contentment. Inside you feel calm. Ulama have done this. That ulama have said that when you begin to clean outside of you, you begin to feel calm inside of you. That's one closet. One closet inside your home. Now imagine if you begin to do that in every dimension of your life. The focus then becomes inside. You now begin to focus on yourself and still maintaining that destination to be God and God alone. Because the reality is that we were not created to possess or consume. We were created for Him and Him alone. And He reminds us of that time and time again. مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. You were not created, the jinn or the ins, except that you worship me. Hadith al-Qudsi. Hadith al-Qudsi is that hadith, قال Allah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's not a verse in the Quran. Okay? There's a collection online of Hadith al-Qudsi, translated in English. From that book, Hadith number 6, talks about when Allah addresses us. It says, Yabna Adam, O children of Adam, I didn't create you so you could relieve me of any poverty. I didn't create you so you can accompany me when I'm alone. I didn't create you so you could protect me from any sort of harm. بَلْ خَلَقْتُكُمْ لِتَعْبُدُونِي طَوِيلًا. I created you so you could worship me طَوِيلًا. وَتَشْكُرُونِي كَثِيرًا. وَتُسَبِّحُونِي زُخْرًا وَأَصِيلًا. This idea that I created you so you could worship me a lengthy worship, so you could thank me in abundance, so you could praise me day in and day out. Now a lot of you might ask, and you do very boldly. Today's youth are very bold in their questions. They ask people like me, why do I have to believe in a God that needs to be constantly praised and constantly thanked? Is that not egotistical of God? Is that not a God who requires constant validation? Of course, we understand enough to know that God does this not for Him, but for us. This idea of hamd and shukr and ibadat of Allah is for us, not for Him. Him Himself, in His essence, is there izzat and respect. Doesn't require someone like me and my pitiful worship to elevate Him. No. Right? Ya ayyuhan nas, antum fuqara ila Allah, wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. O mankind, you are faqir. You are in constant need of Allah. And Allah is Ghaniyyul Hamid. Allah is needless and constantly praised. So if He's telling us this is what your purpose is, it's for us. It's for us. Because when we lose that purpose of Allah, we begin to search for purposes that are not meant to be our purpose, and chaos ensues. Let me give you a very simple example, and then move towards Masai. And I thought long and hard today about whether or not I should give this example. And Bismillah, I'll give the example. And the example is to my sisters, who inshallah are listening. I don't know about what happens here, but specifically those sisters that are young mothers or mothers to young children. The challenges I see inside of them is just this very point right here, finding their purpose in life. Not everybody, maybe a few of them, I don't know. But sometimes I think that they see themselves as nothing but a relationship to somebody else. Meaning that you are somebody's daughter, somebody's wife, then somebody's mother, then somebody's mother-in-law, then someone's daughter-in-law, and someone's sister-in-law, and blah, blah, blah. And so long as you are successful in these relationships, you yourself are a good person. Meaning your worth and your self-value is completely dependent on how much your father respects you, or how happy your husband is, or how well trained your children are, or how happy your spouse and mother-in-law is. And if any of these individuals are unhappy with you, your value decreases. Now, for previous generations, that might be okay. But I think for today, it's very difficult for a sister to wrap her head around that. Especially those mothers who right now have very young children who are not even able to come to the centers and the masajid in these nights, because by the time I begin, their kids are fast asleep. So they are forced to sit there in their home and watch me on live feed. And while watching me on live feed is a great thing, no doubt, coming in person is a totally different phenomenon. And they end up being individuals who believe that their purpose is to be pregnant. Their purpose is to make sure that the house is clean. Their purpose is to make sure that the husband is happy. Their purpose is to make sure that their mother-in-law is happy. And in all of this, what is lost is them. Okay, is them. Now, obviously, a mother, a daughter, a wife has a huge maqam in Islam. That's not my discussion. But that's not their purpose. Their purpose, their GPS destination is God. The route to God is through motherhood. The route to God is through being a housewife. The route to God is through being a working mother, for example. The route to God is to be a good daughter-in-law. For example, when they begin to, please listen very carefully, when they begin, as any of us begin, to replace the route with the destination, and the destination with the route, chaos ensues. What should be a route to your maqsad becomes the maqsad itself. What should be a route to your destination becomes the destination itself. So now your GPS says you have arrived, and you look around like, this is not what I'm here for. And so literally what they lower themselves to is somebody who changes diapers, who cleans up vomit, and who makes sure that my husband has this garam chai when he comes home from work. In the process, they lose their own purpose. They're sleep deprived. They're depressed. They can't get out of the house. On top of that, they can barely get through one Salatul Maghrib without somebody climbing them, or kicking their turba, or crying at their feet. That has a toll on your value. It has a toll on your purpose. You begin to believe that I was made to be pregnant. And while someone like me, I have to explain to them, this is the season of your life. There'll come a moment where the kids will become bigger and older, and you'll begin to now focus on yourself. Right now, this is what you're asked to do. It's up to us as husbands sometimes to make sure that we're conscious of this reality. Especially today's fathers. Us new age fathers, the more involved fathers, have to make sure that we balance stuff out at home. That if one day she decides to stay home with the kids, the next day you stay home with the kids. Say, you go and you have the majlis. You go and you socialize. You go and have a cup of tea without somebody pulling on your abba. When the maqsad becomes the destination, chaos ensues. Minimalism is that reality that we redefine our purpose and focus our purpose. And in clarity in our purpose. Not this idea that now we continue to possess, and we surround ourselves and we clutter ourselves outside of us and we ignore what's inside of us. Let's recapture our purpose and our hadaf, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You look at Imam Hussein's mission up and down his mission. Whenever he had a moment, any khutbah he delivered, he reminded the people what I'm going to Karbala for. Not for fame or fortune, not for government or maqam, not for power or money. No, this is my purpose. My purpose is God. People have strayed away from God. My job is now to pull them back towards God. If that means that through my blood I awaken them, then you awaken them through your blood. These are not easy discussions to listen to or to deliver up here. But these are the nights where you are ready to sit here and listen to this. Your hearts are ready to absorb these things. I mentioned last night, these are revolutionary days for all of us, including myself. And to make sure that we understand this concept and this idea, that minimalism is a conscious lifestyle. If that means that I go against the norm, then so be it. Now, a lot of you will ask, what's wrong with me having some luxuries? I've worked hard for what I own, Malana. I'm a doctor. I spent years and years and years studying very hard, sacrificing all those all-nighter exams, pulling off amazing grades, and now because I have a great home, I have a great car, there's nothing wrong with that, Baba. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what my point is. Like I said, be patient with me. I'll get to that in a few nights. But when we make possessions our maqsad, then the journey is lost. And then chaos. We walk around aimless. We walk around completely confused. Everything is gray for us. We have no idea what's going on. And we can't let that happen. Especially when we are here to commemorate that man whose focus was very, very, very strong. Who would not let anybody talk him out of it. Didn't matter if he had 100, 72, 1,000. His purpose was his purpose. He knew exactly what he was there to do. And nobody would tell him otherwise. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And we can see that purpose when he leaves Medina. When those letters now are written to him from Kufa, he begins now this journey to go towards Kufa. He's eventually now detoured by Khur into Karbala. Him leaving Medina and arriving in Karbala. At first now he goes to the grave of Rasulullah and says, Nana, I'm leaving Medina now. You know how difficult it is to leave your home city? Knowing that you won't return? Goes to the grave of Rasulullah. Says, Nana, I'm leaving. And the way that the books describe it, he walked towards the grave of Rasulullah like a soldier, a man on a mission, a man driven with purpose. Says, Nana, I'm going to save your ummah from disgrace and from degradation. To save the deen that you sacrificed so much for. And then he went to the grave of his mother Fatima. And the way that Hussein ibn Ali went to the grave of Fatima was completely different. If he went to the grave of Rasulullah as a man on a mission, he went stumbling towards the grave of Fatima al-Zahra. You know, when a mother leaves the home for a few hours to go run some errands, do some shopping, grab some groceries, she's gone for hours, and the kids miss the mother. And then they hear, let's say, the rattling of the keys, and the door's about to open, and they open the door, and there they see their mother is home. They begin to what? They begin to bolt towards the mother. They begin to run towards the mother, to the point where they even start to stumble and trip, to the point where they just want to get into the arms of their mother. Imam Hussein went stumbling towards the grave of Fatima al-Zahra. That, Amma, I'm leaving Medina now. You're not with me. Baba Ali is not with me. My brother Hassan is not with me. Stumbling towards this idea that I just want you to hold me one more time. Hold me inside your arms. Let me know that everything will be all right. Imam Hussein now leaves Medina. This very long journey now. On the 2nd of Muharram, they arrive in a place and the horse doesn't move, the books say. They change the horse, doesn't move. They change the horse again, doesn't move. The books say 7 horses were changed. All 7 didn't move when they reached this desert land. Imam Hussein, in his history, twice his horse wouldn't move. One is on this day, one is on the day of Ashura. When now Bibi Zainab has mounted him on the horse, there's no Abul Fazl Abbas, there's no Ali Akbar. Everyone is gone. He begins now to tell his Zuljana, Zuljana, take me to the Maidan of Karbala. The Zuljana doesn't move. He says, I know you're tired, Zuljana. You've been with me since morning. Just one last zahmat, one last effort. Just drop me in the Maidan of Karbala and your duty is done. And the Zuljana wouldn't move, but he drops his head, a tear rolling down his face, saying, Mola, I'm not tired, but your Sakina is clutching my legs, asking me, where are you taking my Baba? The horse doesn't move. Imam Hussein gets off. The Bani Asad tribe is there in front of him. He asked the Bani Asad tribe, what is the name of this desert land? One man says that, Mola, we call this place Nainawa. Is there another name? Yes, Shattul Furat. He waits for another name from the back of Buzurg. An older comes and says, Mawla, our Ajdad, our forefathers used to call this place Karbala. Imam Hussein says to Abul Fazl Abbas, pitch up the tents. This is where our blood will be shed. And then Imam Hussein does something very ajib. He begins to address the Bani Asad tribe. He first goes to the men, says, look, there'll be a war here. There'll be a battle here. Lives will be killed here. Our lives will be killed here. If you can, all of you, ensure that we're given a proper burial in this land of Karbala. Look, if somebody is dying, if somebody has a disease, very few times do you hear that mariz and that sick call up the Jamaat, say, look, Mr. Jamaat, can you make sure that when I die that you bury me in the Qabristan properly? Obviously that's going to happen. It goes without saying. For some reason, Imam Hussein went out of his way to address the men of the Bani Asad tribe to say, look, if and when we die, make sure our bodies are buried. And then he put up a partition and talked to the women. If your men are not able to bury us, all of you collectively, women, dig one massive grave and just place our bodies inside that grave. And then he went to the kids of the Bani Asad tribe, picked up the kids, kissed them, hugged them. He says, are you Muslim? Yes, we're Muslim. Do you recite the kalama? Yes, we do. When you say Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, that Muhammad is my grandfather. My name is Hussein. Understand who I am. If your mothers and your fathers are not able to bury us, then all of you with your small masum hands pick up the khak of Karbala and just drop it on our bodies. Why, Mawla, this need to go to the men and the women and the children for obvious things like burial? Maybe he knows there'll come a time after Asri Ashur. Umar ibn Saad says, I need 10 horses to come and trample the body of the son of Fatima. The 10th man says, Sheikh Abbas Qummi in Nafasul Mahmum narrates that 10th Mal'oon who rode his horse on the body of Hussein says, by Allah, when my horse trampled the body of Hussein, I could hear the cracking of his ribs. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to accept this qaleel ibadat, inshallah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give us that tawfiq to understand our purpose, to give clarity to our focus, inshallah. We ask you, Allah, to make us remind ourselves that you are our maqsad, you are our destination, inshallah. We ask you, Allah, to forgive our sins and those of our parents. We ask you, Allah, make us worthy and isqabil of the zuhur of Imam Zamana, inshallah, and make us stand beside him when he comes. Wassalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.